and you are on the lifeboat. And I am happy that everyone is here. This is going to be epic. This really is. And you know what, people? We are participating in the beta test currently right now for the big red button, and that is going to get us a little extra love in theory, so that this might get forced out into some other people's faces. And today, I couldn't be any happier. You know, the timing on this is just kind of epic because we retired the hat yesterday, and today I interview a veteran, which is very, very cool. And this is the gentleman that has been on the boat for a very long time. And from day one has just sort of really just been a go getter. There's been a lot of, can I get a 5x5 if everybody's hearing me good? Um, there is there's a lot of challenges, and I'm not going to steal his thunder, but there were a lot of challenges in this man's life that he had to overcome. And I think that the beautiful thing about this interview is that, boy, it touches on just about everything that all of us struggle with in one way or another. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time. Thank you, everybody on the 5x5s. People, our guest, the Swiss Vapor, and I don't know which one of you put in the comment section if this man lives in New Zealand. He would be called the New Zealand Vapor if he lived in New Zealand. It is. How you doing tonight, Vape?
I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine.
Good.
Really, I'm so happy to be here.
You know what? We're really happy to have you. I mean, that is the truth. I am super super happy that you are here. You know, I don't want to delve really deep into too much of your military stuff because I understand that it's not stuff that you could talk a lot about. So if you just sort of, if you could touch on the fact that you were in combat. I'm not going to ask you to talk about things you're not supposed to talk about, but
No,
if
no
you want to
worries.
just start right at the beginning, the obviously everybody is curious about the drug use. This is something that your usage was man. I mean, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but your usage was epic. I remember when we first started talking, and you were still working on drinking. When did you start doing drugs?
Um, well, drugs. I don't take weed as a drug.
Right,
But
understood.
um, when I was about probably like 16 or something, I started having like broken bones and stuff, and so they gave me painkillers, and it started very easy, and the pain didn't kill that well. That's what I felt. So they gave me stronger stuff, and all of a sudden I ended up with um, how do you call it? Like opiates,
Yeah,
tramadol. That was the beginning. Just like drops first, and then you put like one. We called one hub like 5 drops. So I had like 4 hubs, right? So that's 20 drops. That's usual, and I doubled it up 40, and start feeling better. And then after a month or two, I just keep on doubling it up, like 80. And it felt great, and totally lost track of everything. Um, yeah, and then it started just to be a daily basis, right? So I went through that stuff like uh, like somebody eating Tic Tacs or Mentos, right?
yeah,
Um, and then I start combining it with drinking because, well, that gives you a better kick, right? Better high.
sure.
And then the whole army thing started. That was about 2003. So I served the army, did recruiting stuff and all that. So it was about 15 weeks, and I had an injury with my knee. So guess what? They treated me again with some painkillers. So I went back to
Right.
the thing, get my knee fixed, and that was about 2005, something around that. They called me in for some reason. And there it starts getting really, really ugly. Stuff that I saw, you just you wash it down, right? And that's when
Yeah.
I start really um, drinking a lot more. Um, and before the army, I had an ex girlfriend. She was a heavy drinker, so I was a heavy drinker, and we're just like every evening working, being drugged up, drinking, and then the army stuff came, and it just doubled up, right? So at the high top, when I was drinking, just for a small measurement, because liters and gallons is a little bit different.
Gets a little confusing to be sure. Yeah, I mean, and there were
It's,
benzos at this time as well, wasn't there?
that's like 10 liters of a bucket that you drank every day, plus a bottle of Jack Daniels or vodka, whatever.
Yeah,
So
that's just
the last thing before I went to bed, I just have a big can of beer, cracked it open, leave it on the table. Woke up, first thing I did, not even get up, nothing. Just grab the beer, put my neck, start sipping it down, like chug it down. Have my whiskey, have my cigarette, have my joint, pop in the pills. Don't forget the pills, like daily basis, like every hour I pop in like 4 or 5 of those. And it was a tough addiction. I didn't realize anything. I lost control about everything. So after that, I moved out um, to the States for 1.5 years. Was about 2008, 2009, something around that. And well, yeah, guess what? I was still a heavy drinker. At the bar, they really loved me because they never saw anybody that can drink like 2, 3 pitchers. And your beer, not an offense, is not very hard, right?
sure.
So I could just keep drinking and have my pills, right? So 1.5 years later, I came back to Switzerland, and everything got out of control. Lost my license because it was expired. I did it in the U.S. and not in Switzerland. Just yeah, I swear word effed up really good. Um,
Right.
I drank every day, popping pills every day, double, twice, more opiates. Just get this stuff in the system, right? Really highly addicted. And by the time I had the drops, right? So it's a 100 ml bottle, and guess what? After a week, it's done, which lasts you actually like about 2, 3, 4 weeks, depends on how much you need.
Right.
And I didn't need it at that time anymore. So everything totally collided, and then the
You
nightmares started with.
not
Sorry.
to bust on you or interrupt, but when you and I first started talking, I think you had your license back at that point, and it was one of those things where every day at work, I mean, by the time you were in the car and on the way home, you were already half in the bag, correct?
Oh yeah, sure. I walked out of the store, went in the car. The first thing I did, guess what? Popped a beer can, right? And took some pills. And I just drove. Never had an accident. Never was involved with police or
Thank
something.
God.
Yeah, I mean, before that, I had an accident. I got brake jacked, seriously, in a roundabout, just for no reason. Well, okay, I had alcohol. I knew it. So they pulled me over. I called the police and the ambulance because I was, I was a mess. So that was one of the first time that my wife really, really was upset because of drinking, and you know, uh, so that accident was the first wake up call, right? So the officer told me, you did the blow test thingy. Uh, if I'm talking to you right now, if I didn't see the reading, I wouldn't believe you had any drop of alcohol. You sound so clearly. And I said, yeah, I don't feel anything. That's the reason why I can't understand why she just stopped for no reason.
Right.
And then he looked at me, he took away his name, his badge, and he looked at me and he said, hey, dude, just between you and me, do you realize something? I said, sure do. So that was the first time when I was confronted, need to change something. Um,
When you and I
and that's
met, just,
yeah.
just to give the people on the boat perspective, one of the
Sorry.
first times you and I ever spoke, we did it. We did a video chat, and um, that was still when you were in the drinking phase. And
Yeah.
I will back up the fact that I've never in my life seen anybody that was as clear. And you probably remember me telling you that I was frightened as hell by this because that was a night you were doing wine and you were on your second or third bottle or something of that. It was just a ridiculous amount of wine, and at no point, if I wasn't watching what was going on, I wouldn't have had a clue. And it scared the heck out of me because usually when you get to that level of addiction, Swiss, do you think at that point, that this was a painkiller for the mind? Do you think that you were using the booze and the pills and everything else to sort of, because I know that, and I don't want to get into any areas you're uncomfortable with, but I know that there's some pretty serious PTSD. Do you think you were just medicating with the booze and the benzos and
I was medicating with the benzos, right? But the booze was just a booster. Um, when I had beer, it was okay. I was in my wood shop, and we're hard drinkers, right? Just me and my the godfather of my daughter, right? One of my best friends. We're heavy drinkers. So just I jump in. He drinks now probably 1 or 2 beers a day. He's not smoking weed that much, but he's smoking cigarettes like a chimney. But just a fact, he was a hard drinker too. And he saw it with me, and for some reason, I told him, hey, you need to get some help because you have some problems. So he got some help, got some pills, Prozac. So his life is turning out good now. Well, but at that time, I was really drinking hard, and it was really a booster to um, kill the pain because back in combat, um, I saw things. If I would explain what I saw, we would get red flagged right away.
yeah,
It
there's no
easy. The least thing was still brutal, and I cannot explain that on camera. But those situations, I'm autistic, so I'm comfortable talking with you guys that way. So uh, I just did it. It was an order, right? You have to secure that sector, and if you see anything that moves, if it's a bunny, if it's a bird, shoot it. Okay, good. Order's done. Copy that. Do it. Sniper. Let me put it that way. Still drinking beer, right? Still having booze and benzos. But that time, um, I was a sharpshooter, and I out of 200 shots, 190, 100% perfectly, and the rest, well, did a job. Not happy about it, but I was always eagle eye. Um, and after that, the abuse of benzos combined with alcohol just numbed my brain, right? And by that time, I was still smoking weed, really potent stuff. My friend and I would grow our own for his medical use and just for my abuse, right? And well, still struggling with nightmares, insomnia. It's like the fourth night that I just slept like an hour or two because when I wake up after a nightmare, I can't get back to sleep. It's so intense at the time that my wife she sleeps. Sometimes she pass out on the sofa, living room, and I really start throwing my arms and kicking around, and it's when she's there, she knows right away what to do and calm me down. So since I'm not drinking any booze and don't taking any benzos, oh, you bet I had a lot of time that I want to just open that door, hop in the car, turn the key, and just drive again that road, right? And I just pop pills, take some alcohol, and getting over it. And that's not like once a week. No, it's like 4 times a day. Uh, the willing to go back there is unbelievable. But I just figured every time when I feel like that, well, I'll make my own tube of terror. So I just pop in another CP and I'm good, And capsaicin, capsaicin is not my booze. It's not my opiates. It's not my drug, right?
Yeah.
Still
There's,
struggling.
there's a decent amount of research behind that, and my brother, I know you watch my brother's channel. He had a
No, I don't
vertebrae
know.
removed. He had spinal fusion, and had a lot of physical torment, a lot of stuff that went on with his body, and he replaced pain medication with capsaicin. When you if you people if you've never done it, if you've been, and what he's talking about, I mean, you take the nuts out of a tube of terror, or I mean, it's going to release endorphins, and it's going to release a lot of them. I mean, it is a kind of burn that is just, yeah, and quick, right? It's a
Yeah,
kind of burn that's hard to wrap your brain around. Um, so how long? When I know that the last thing to go was the booze, correct, or was it the
right.
benzos?
Well, no, no, no. I started um, getting off the benzos before that. I just had like the last couple of months. I had like some episodes that I had to take it, but
Right.
my doctor and I were really, really close. And just to put it short, my mom's there, my dad's there, my wife, my son, my princess daughter, and me. The whole family, right? And his son is actually now overtaking his praxis, which is a good thing, right? It's all in the family. Um, so with his guidance, I took. So I just told him, hey, you know what? Just give me 10 of those, and that should be fine for this week. Just with his guidance, and the only thing that I really had to struggle and fight, just not open my cabinet right here, which is still with a bottle of whiskey in it. And just as a reminder, I still have. What's the sad part? Getting sober. Don't drinking booze. I'm a beer collector. I collect beers from all over the world. I even have those old beer that you like, those hand grenade beers. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I do.
So I always
Like
have this bottle
growth
of beer
and
right, right on my counter. It just reminds me. Don't panic. You have. Just don't panic. It's there. That's what I tell to my customers when they get off cigarettes. Hey, you know what? Buy a pack of cigarettes. Take it every day with you. You have it. If you have the struggles to need, I need a cigarette. You don't have to get over that. Oh, I need to buy one. No, you have it with you. It's in your interest to not open the package, because as I tell my customers, you don't have to need to quit cigarettes. You quit the damn thing every time you put it out in the ashtray. Yeah, I'm very good. I didn't swear at all.
well,
So
well played.
you need to start not starting seriously, and but keep your pack of cigarettes with you. I always have cigarettes with me in case. I always have booze in my office in case. But you know what? Didn't touch it.
There are a lot of people that aren't going to get that. But I'll tell you, I know a guy here in town, and he's a good friend. He's been sober 23 years, I think. If I'm missing that, I'm not missing it by much. He's been sober for a very, very long time, and I told the story about when we went and um, Virginia was getting sentenced. The girl that had gotten in the DWI car wreck. We all went out to the sentencing. And when I showed up at court, he was going to have to testify, right? He was going to have to get up and say something on her behalf. And as we were getting ready to walk in the door, he said to me, "Will you carry something through security for me?" And I said, "Have you bumped your head? Of all of the people in the world, you want me to?" I said, "No, I don't know what it is, and I'm not carrying anything through security." I go, "What the hell is wrong with you?" He had two little airplane bottles of vodka. And I said to him, dude, you don't drink. And he said, no, I haven't had a drink in 23 years. He said, but having these things, he said, when I get really, really stressed out, he said, the fact that these are in my pocket, he said, like when he goes on airplanes, he has a real struggle with airplanes. And when he flies, he'll have two airplane bottles in his pocket. They're those bottles, when he pulled them out, the labels on these things are, I mean, they're long gone. The bottles look like they're 23 years old, like they've been digged around and everything else. This is something I hear from people a lot, so I'm not necessarily surprised by that. There are some people that don't fully understand that. There was a girl on the boat who told the story of her father who had one pack of cigarettes. He quit smoking and had a pack of cigarettes that he carried for decades. And then one day said to his wife, "This is stupid. I don't even know why. Why do I keep doing this? It's absolutely ridiculous." He threw out the pack and 2 weeks later bought one and smoked it.
Yeah,
So there's some psychology behind that. It kind of works on the same principle as the people who say, we're going to do it one day at a time because the prospect of never ever having it again, sometimes just the knowledge that it's there if you wanted it is actually enough to keep peace for some people. I'm the kind of guy that I'm sort of the opposite. I can't be around anything. That's just, but
right.
everybody is a little bit different. It actually makes sense to me. Of all of the stuff that you've quit, because I know that, we're highlighting some stuff that's pretty heavy, but I know you've done a lot of other stuff that we're not even talking about. Um, but of all of the substances that you've quit, what do you think was the hardest to get off?
The hardest. That's a dang good question. Um, Definitely not booze. Sounds
No.
stupid, but the hardest thing was getting off of opiates and shrooms and that special nose cleansing powder that you inhale.
Yeah, I didn't bring that one up because it wasn't something that we had discussed, prior to going on.
But
But I
you
know
could,
that
you
yeah,
could,
there was, you went through the period of coke, and there was a friend recently that you were sort of mentoring who was really struggling with coke. If you could touch real quickly too, they, I know that your culture and ours are really really different. I haven't been there in a long time, but when I was, you could buy, I don't know if you can still get psilocybin, if you can still buy mushrooms in, but when I was there, you could buy them. They were not, it wasn't like here in the States where, if you happen to know somebody or they come around when there's a concert tour coming through town, like the Grateful Dead, there was always mushrooms around when the Grateful Dead would come to town. But are they still selling them in Switzerland?
yeah, sure. I mean,
Yeah,
you need to know the people, but back in probably your days, it must be in the 90s or something. I'm just guessing.
it was in the
Uh,
90s.
yeah. You had actually, because it was not a known substance, it was shrooms,
Yeah,
mushrooms. I mean, you have mushroom sauce and all that. So, yeah, okay, mushrooms are not bad. And then they start realizing that they're hallucinating. So, yeah, they got banned. But you can, doesn't matter where you are in the world. I was in Paraguay, right? Uh, you know what? The first thing that we did, I was like probably an hour in Paraguay. The first thing my friend did, organize some weed. That's the quickest thing, right? And for yeah, booze and beer and all that.
right.
But that's still a thing. You can still get it. So the hardest for me really was the opiates, and
Yeah,
weed. It's something different. Back when I was a teenager, it was just to get high, right? Just to get stupid high. Now it's for me. It's really really good helping painkiller. It reduces my pain levels. So I walk on a cane because I don't know why, but my back is messed up somehow. My hip, I don't know why. And let me put it that way. We're on a patrolling, and so there is the driver, navigator, and me. And in the back seat of the truck, there was the what was he? He was how do you call it? He was like the observer. He was just checking the situation, and then you have the and so the navigator said turn right, one too quick. So we go that one right. The next thing I remember, um, there was a loud boom. I got catapulted out of the truck bed, landed on the dirt, and I just passed out. And I don't know how long I passed out, but then I just woke up. And let me put it that way: and I figured out later that it was an anti-tank mine. So a pickup truck driving over an anti-tank mine, it's not a good thing. So that was the last thing that basically messed me up, and that's when I really needed the alcohol, really needed the opiates, and that's still a thing that you just want to numb your brain when you have those
Sure.
nightmares, when you have that every day, especially now with the war going on here
The
around.
reminders. Yeah.
You see pictures and you're it's not like in the movie when like you're fading in. You see the picture and you're right there. And I don't watch, but I have this senseless stare, looking at the nothing. My wife needs to get me back sometimes. It's a hard thing, but yeah, I just squirrel off. Sorry.
Yeah.
If anybody else has a question, just shout it out. I mean, I can't read it because it's way too quick for me. But
Yeah, no, I can read them as they go by, and we'll absolutely take some questions from you. The So you think opiates? Was it the physical dependency, or is it just the fact that, I mean? Because let's be really honest, you do have a lot of medical issues that really you know create a problem. And I also remember a period of time where you and I were on the phone. You struggled with the weed thing, and I don't mean you struggled with the concept of it. And I think that it was, probably had something to do with the lifeboat. But just if there's anyone else listening as well, we have never ever given anybody a lick of grief about using cannabis as a way to treat pain. We're never going to. I'm never going to advise somebody who's using cannabis effectively as a way to cut down on pain. We have a lot of people on the boat who I consider sober that use cannabis as something to reduce pain. And I think deep down we all know, and I think you'd probably agree with me. It's like you said earlier. If when you were a kid, it was about getting as ripped as you can. I remember being that kid. You'd
same
buy,
here.
you'd go and buy a half ounce of weed and roll it into joints, and you'd sit there and smoke them until they were all gone. And you were just trying to see how obliterated you could get. There's a difference between
Obliterated,
using
exactly.
something as a pain medication versus just abusing it. You know what I mean? There definitely is a real difference. At least in my mind, there is.
Yeah.
The vape. The I remember when I was there in the '90s, the attitude toward drugs in your country is really different than the attitude was in the states. I remember talking to a gentleman at the bar who he used the term junkie, and he was referring to somebody who we actually, when I went to Switzerland, we there was somebody we knew who was he was a skier. Anyway, this he never used opiates. He never used heroin. He never did anything like that. He was a drinker. But the guy said, "Oh yeah, your friend's a junkie." And I remember going, "Wait, what? No, 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 no. He never did. He doesn't do. But they used that term to refer to anybody that was abusing anything, like because
Yep.
my friend was doing so much drinking that, as far as they were concerned, that was. And I remember really being struck by that because I was at the time I was using opiates, and well, I was using heroin is what I was using, but the attitude over there was more. I don't want to use the word pity, but I think that they felt for anybody that was struggling with substances. I think that the attitude was probably a lot more sympathetic there than it was here. And I know that one of the first clinics in the world that tried to use um, medical heroin as a way to treat people, as opposed to doing methadone or some of the other type of cessation programs. One of the first experiments ever was in Switzerland. So it's is the attitude still the same? I mean, is it still what? you've been in the States, you've been, compare the two if you could.
Um, refer to the junkie thing. A junkie here was referred back in the days because where you were in Zurich, there was this place. Everybody knows it's the translated in English. It would be the leaf tip, right?
Right.
It's just really the leaf tip. So this was a place where really junkies, heroin junkies, they meet there, they share, they do everything, and this is something the government couldn't control. Seriously, when I was like 7, 8 years old, you drive to Zurich, they're sitting on those poles right by the street and giving a shot. You're waiting at the red light, you're seeing a guy giving a shot between the fingers in the whatever. That was what I saw as a junkie, and also back in the States, I didn't really, in my opinion, I know that I met a lot of junkies, but for me, they're not junkies because they're not putting any needles in their body, right?
Right.
So for me, a junkie is really, in Swiss terms, a junkie is just a drug addict that's on heroin, right? I'm not talking about smoking, which
Right.
I tried to, didn't do a thing to me. I'm not surprised, but um, the junkies with the needles cooking up their stuff, just sitting somewhere in front of a restaurant and cooking up their stuff. I mean, that was normal there. And cops driving by, what do you do? You pick up that guy, 5 meters or couple of feet. There's the next one. So you can basically fill like 20 buses of those guys, and you don't even have a third of what's going on.
That's
That
the
was a
United States now.
Yeah. You see, at least you're behind. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're behind. you know. And now, in nowadays, you don't see them anymore. It's more a thing that you do in an enclosed area or somebody's home or something. But it's more that you have drug addicts that are on opioids. Seriously, you have a lot on their benzos and amitriptyline and stuff like that. That is getting an issue over here. We don't have the problem with fentanyl
Right.
because I don't know, but the situation back in the '90s with the leaf tip thing going on, I think that
Yep.
that learned was a lesson. They want to mess, or I have to put it in that term. They didn't want to fuck with that substance
Right.
because they saw what's going on.
Sadly, it's probably coming to. I don't think there are too many civilized parts of the planet right now that aren't going to see it. Since I started doing this, there have been so many places that I've watched and the reason is just the profit potential. It comes down to how little you have to smuggle, and sadly. I remember talking a year ago with people in Australia that just said, it's a good thing that we're that far away because we're not, and now it's all over Australia, and it just seems to be spreading like a cancer all over the world. People realize from an illicit standpoint, the smaller an amount of anything that you can smuggle, right, the better off you are. So instead of these people, producing the more expensive, version that comes from a poppy, they can just make it in a lab. And I pray it doesn't get there. I hope that that's the case, but it just seems like it's everywhere. It really is just spreading. And here in the States, now we're the big busts now are all being called ISO, and we talked about nitazines, almost closing in on a year ago, but they're calling it ISO because it's isonitazine, but it's even a stronger version. And you know what opiates are like. I mean, once they get a hold of you, can you imagine anything that would be 100 times stronger than a Dilaudid? Or 200 times stronger than a Dilaudid. I mean, that's what these kids are doing on the street right now, and it's the reason that the death toll is the way it is. So when you were in the States, Swiss, where were you? What part of the United States did you come to?
Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you know what? If and that's humorous, people. I hope that at least somebody gets, and I'm not picking on you, but that's the strongest beer in the United States. It's the one state in the U.S. that allows beer that's stronger than everywhere else is Wisconsin. That's almost yeah. That's
I,
funny
I
that you found
figured.
there.
I
You
figured.
you you found our
I,
beer week and you were in Wisconsin. No
yeah.
offense.
You have
That's funny.
over here, like our strong beer, right? You can have a 7.5, and there is another one that the name is Maximator, but that's from somewhere else, but not from Switzerland. That's a 10.5, but it
Oh, I'm
tastes
worse.
like you take beer. It tastes like you take beer. Not. Yeah. Take an MGD and combine it with a Jack Daniels.
Yeah, that's
Ugh.
just terrible. Yeah,
Yeah. That's not beer
that's
for
terrible.
me. So that's I never drink that stuff because it tastes so ugly.
You
It's
know,
not
with
beer.
a lot of people, the one time that you came on, we you called in and we had a pretty good call. I think you probably remember, but the number of emails I got from people who said it really was a moment on the lifeboat. Like if I think back to the 5 or 6 moments that I remember the most on this channel, um, this would be in the top 5 because you were really just having a tough day. And I didn't do it intentionally. A lot of people sort of emailed me and said that I did, but I brought up your daughter and the the change in you instantly. I mean, there were so many people that emailed me on this vape. I promise you that it would frighten you how many people reached out to me about this. It was like throwing a light switch. And the crazy thing is, we had just done a show a couple of days earlier, which is why I probably got accused of it. But people, we had done a show that said, you really only got to change that mindset for about 5 seconds, right? If you can get what you're struggling with and concentrate on, sort of going to a happy place, you really, but I have never seen anybody transfer from the look on your face. It was almost like something from a movie. You know what I mean? You went from this to just, this big, huge, happy, loving grin. It was a beautiful thing. It really was.
I mean, that situation that I just seriously I had a situation like 2 weeks ago. I took her out and we have to go get some errands. My son was still in school, so we have to go to the gas station and get some tobacco for my wife and some filters and papers. Yeah, she's still smoking. So I was automatically, because he said, "Yeah, bring me a Coke," and usually I brought a Coke and a beer. So I opened up and took the Coke, and I grabbed the handle and I opened it, and she looked at me and she started laughing, and she looked at me and she said, "Dad, for real?" And I said, "Heck no, it's just a reaction, it's just a habit, a bad habit." But then she looked at me and she shook her head, right? But back then, she was the one that really just, "Dad, you don't need that anymore." Okay. Um, yeah. You can tell in my voice that I really struggle that my eyes don't sweat, because I usually don't sweat out of my eyes, right? But this situation with my kids is priceless. Um, I had my relapse on alcohol, seriously, which is a good thing, because now I know that I might not say sober. I mean, I'm sober, but not sober, but I'm stable. So if every I would say beer that I drank, only beer, not booze or something. I mean, not
Right.
schnapps and stuff. I did it on purpose. I did it with a clear mind, and but you know what? After a couple of sips, I have to put it away because it's just not that taste anymore. And this is something like in my situation, I know how I work and I know how my mindset is and how my brain works. I have to remind me sometimes of that ugly taste, right? So when I'm at the shop and he's having a beer and take a sip, nah, it's not mine anymore. It's about that. It's a refresher. It's making me personal stable to not getting back to alcohol. It's my way and it works for me. I'm 100% sure there are other people around. They would just smell, they're like a gremlin right into it, just digging in like a zombie. the first relapse, yeah, okay, yeah, that was an impulse reaction, and I just drank 2 bottles of beer, and I can tell you what, after being a long time sober, having 2 beers, yeah, I, I was drunk, and I was
Yeah.
a weird feeling because the last time I was drunk, my God, it didn't feel drunk, and but every time when I do that, my daughter is always in my mind like, "That for real?" And in my mind I say, "Yeah, I need to do this." Okay, just in my mindset, in my mind. But I always talk and communicate to my wife. Hey, you know what? Today was a very bad day, and guess what? And she said, "Yeah, I felt it. But you know what? I know you're strong, and I know you only had one." And I said, "Yeah, and I had a small one." So that's the only thing. It happened like 4 times now, but it's the only thing that I will not keep continuing, because it's now a couple of weeks that I didn't have any beers. So you know, just
Well, there, like we say so often, there is such thing as a good relapse.
yeah,
And I'll be honest, the number of episodes that you're talking about, I don't know. I think it's really small. I mean, I'm not sure exactly. I'm not trying to condone anything, but people, if you could have seen the business like attitude that this man was able to put away alcohol, it was, and there's just no other way to put it. It was frightening. It really was. And you know what? I'll tell you, every time we ever spoke, one of the things that I really respect about you, Swiss, is there is something very businesslike in everything that you do, and I mean that honestly, and about the highest form of compliment that I can give. Because when I talk to people every day about sobriety, I talk to people
yeah,
every single day about sobriety, and it's a lot of people live in a gray area, and you don't. You know what I mean? Like we talked, and I remember the conversation about weed, where you just said, I watched the boat, and I'm really struggling with the fact that I'm smoking this, and I was like, are you just doing it to get wasted? Or are you doing it for pain? And you're like, no, I'm doing it for pain. And I said, I don't think you ought to be beating yourself up about it. And again, it was like a light switch. You're like, you're right. I'm not doing this to get high. Like it was such a cut and dry moment. And it was the same thing when we talked about booze. And when we talked about, I didn't think we were going to have a productive conversation because of the amount that you had to drink. But you have been one of the easiest people to deal with. And I'm not bagging on anybody. Everybody's different. It's like you just said, there are a lot of people for whom having that booze in the house would be impossible. I'll tell you, if anything comes out of this interview, I hope that everybody gets the fact that there are 2 billion roads to sobriety. There are, for every single person walking this planet that has been able to overcome addiction, there's a different way that they got there, because nobody uses the same path. Even if you use the exact same handbook, our addictions are so different, our minds are so different. And I think it's a great life lesson for everybody on the boat as well, because it is so often in recovery, you get people who, me, for instance, I'm a great example. I'm on medical assisted treatment. I take buprenorphine every day. And I get on average 25 to 30 emails a week who tell me I'm not sober and I've got no right doing a show on sobriety because I take buprenorphine. And medical assisted treatment, some people view it one way, some people view it another, and everyone's got an opinion, and I'm cool with all of them. I never send anybody back a hate mail. I know, whatever. But the point is this: if a person isn't abusing the substance that they used to abuse, I just don't think anybody ought to be throwing the first stone. You know what I mean? I work
yeah,
with people who were doing, a gallon or two of booze a day. And we're doing a 1 month prescription of benzodiazepines by the 5th day that they had the prescription. I'm not judging that person on how they got sober. I'm not judging
no,
that person on the number of relapses they have or how they chose. The idea is we want to save as many people as we can from a life you were familiar with. You know what I mean? Like there's just not much like a really good alcohol dependency or a really good opiate dependency because of the physical attributes of both of those kinds of addictions. When the physical thing gets you, it's just really different. I'm getting a
Yeah,
lot of comments, Swiss, right now, a bunch of comments about your beard. Apparently, it's getting an awful lot of ink. The How long did it take you to grow that?
that thing.
Yep.
6 years.
6. Okay. Yeah, my brother
No,
Johnny's been
no,
going
no.
about 7.
My son is turning 12 this year, and I always had like a short beard, probably like this.
Uh-huh.
And when he was like 6 months old, I didn't shave because he started right away to grab always on my beard, right? So you know what? Every time when I gave him the bottle, he holding here and just hitting his bottle, right? And even my daughter. And that's something. That's the reason why this is seriously. That's my label. People
Yeah.
know me when they walk in the shop or when they type in an email for for the boss or something. Hey, yeah, and this guy with the beard, and it's exactly it's me. It's just a thing. I always wear my combat vest. I always have my beard, long hair. It's a thing. But it needs a lot of care. That's the only thing. If you have a long beard like that, you need to seriously. I didn't know that before, but you need to cut it. When you have splits, that's
Yeah.
dead hairs. So it will not grow longer. So I realized when it was like that and it didn't grow, and the dude told me, "Hey, you need to shave it." And I said, "What? No, I'm not gonna shave it. No, no, just the tips. Just cut the tips and start growing, right?" But I'm very happy about people liking, that stuff because when I was back in the states, I have a good buddy over there, right, a smoke buddy, and he always looked at me and he said, "Sorry when I say it that way, but that's exactly his word." Phil, I said, "What?" Cut off that peach fuzz. That's what he always said. It was nothing, right? And my mustache started just like it starts growing. Just I started growing it like almost like 6 years ago. Yeah, that's what about 6 years ago, and I'm proud of it. That's
Look, it fits you, man. It really does.
yeah.
It's your personality. A couple of comments. One is definitely here for you, and there was a comment left by Niall
I
that
think
said, "Proud of you, Philip. We are brothers in so many ways. You know that." And then Grace Face said, "I made it 30 easy days watching my house get cleaner and all of the tiny little things get fixed, painted, etc. I see how much time alcohol stole from me. Our time here is precious." It's a great comment.
yeah, yeah.
What a
What
great comment.
what great comment. It's true. Alcohol, drugs. It's a time stealer. It's a waste of time, right?
I've been doing a real deep dive into alcohol because it seems that the people I work with come in waves, and for a while it'll be all people who are on opiates, and then I seem to get a lot of benzos, and right now I'm getting a lot of people that are struggling with alcohol, and you know, it's funny when I work on watches, right? I put parts in an ultrasonic cleaner, and then you take it out of the ultrasonic cleaner, you hit it with alcohol. And the reason you
Hmm.
do it's just a spray because the alcohol is going to remove every bit of liquid, every bit of water instantly. It bonds to it. The booze in our body does the same thing. You know what I mean? The first thing it kills is your skin. You get varicose veins, your skin starts to dry out. All of these things, the effects of what booze does to the body. And I've been just reading and doing sort of this deep scientific sort of dive into it. It strips water from every single cell in your body.
Yeah.
I mean, literally just that's why when you wake up the next day, we've all had that experience where you wake up and you're like, just the most dry you've ever felt.
I mean, you could
Um,
open your mouth. Once my mouth was shut, it was so dry, and I was pissed because I want to have I want to have my beer and couldn't because everything was seized up. But I know exactly what you mean, that yucky gummy feeling in your
yeah,
mouth. Right?
When I was in Germany, they had something called junken, where people would leave furniture and things on the street that no one no longer wanted. We would go and salvage stuff. That was
Yeah,
Miss V commenting on the
that's
gray space. Welcome to the boat. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's a still thing in Germany and also in Switzerland. You just put it out and for free, and guess what? Quicker gone than the tires on your car. It's just
Like like a
it's a
break it
thing.
down in Brooklyn.
Yeah, stop and looking at your map, and then you want to drive. Oh crap! What's going on? You can't go. No, it's an upcycling thing. A lot of people get stuff from the street and upcycle. Do something new about it, or if you need something and you don't have money for it, just it's for free. If it's on the streets, it's for free, right? If there's
Upcycle.
a
There's a pretty cool word. I've never
upcycle,
heard that word before. I like that. Upcycle.
upcycling, upcycling. That's what we do. We don't recycle. We upcycle. You take trash and you make something out of it.
A very cool concept.
You're making watches. Oh god, I'm making boxes,
Oh, nice.
right? Uh, this took me about a week. It's a big one. Like you have drawers over here. You have a
Oh,
hidden drawer over here, right?
uh,
That's what I do. I just try to match the wood in every angle. And
very
this
cool.
is this is this is something I started doing when I feel need to do something. No, I don't want to roll, and then I start doing stuff with wood as what do you call it?
Therapy.
As a therapy, right? You're doing
Yeah.
watches.
Yeah, damn right. No, and you know what? I'm glad that you said that. I really am. Every single day, Swiss, I get somebody that will email me and say, I do really great until, and it's always the same thing. They're always describing that period of time that you were just talking about. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden you're like, you get that feeling when you're uncomfortable in your own skin. And, I say all the time, get out of the room, get out of what you're doing, go outside, get some air in your lungs, whatever, change your scenery. There is a lot to be said for what you're talking about.
It's
There are
very
so
true.
many people in recovery who will find a passion and they'll find something that they're good at, and which is it's more than just getting through that time. It's also rewarding, and people. If it sounds anything that you come across and you go, you know what, that kind of sounds like fun. You are going to be rebuilding neural pathways, and you are going to be training your brain to get satisfied doing something without having to throw a switch, right? Dope, booze, blow, anything that you're putting into your body is a switch that's going to throw, a receptor, and that receptor is going to give you some dopamine. Well, Swiss is talking about using his hands to build something beautiful, and I promise you that's throwing the same switch. And that kind of training, that kind of thing to rebuild a neural pathway, to come up with something that is a positive way to
Yeah.
realign a malfunctioning reward center of the brain, you honestly cannot do any better. In recovery, that is honestly, it's like the
Um,
holy grail. Alan Ballantyne took up archery, right? You just don't know until you try, what's going to
mm,
end up throwing that switch and what's going to help realign a malfunctioning reward center. Instead of using dope or booze or any of those things, um, anything productive. I love the word upcycle. I promise you, I'm going to be using that. I love that.
I just want to talk about two things that's very important. Um, Speaking about PTSD, this is serious. There is no pill that takes the PTSD away. All right. I'm struggling with PTSD a long time. There is nothing. I tried. I promise you guys, I tried. There is upcoming swear word. There is no fucking substance I know that takes that away. Besides the Carolina Reaper. The super hot peppers. That's in that case really kind of like a substitute for me to when I feel bad, like usually every day because of the PTSD. I just get my my endorphin dump, and
Yeah.
it make me feel better. And talking about alcohol, if you're trying to get sober, don't try. Just keep on going. Take advice. You might not do it in the first shot. Okay, you know what? If you have a Colt with 6 shot and that's not enough, well then get an 80 millimeter. Get a Glock or
Yeah.
something. You need just more bullets, right? Just keep shooting. Don't give up. Just keep shooting. Call out Tommy or even on Messenger and Facebook. Just text me. We're here. It's not only me being in the chat and typing stuff. It's also me really. I'm here for you guys. If somebody really struggles bad, just email Tommy or Tommy can forward the email and give my email address. I don't care. If somebody needs help, I'm not the guy that says no. No, not really. I'm a helping guy, and I just learned to be that because I had a lot of people around me that helped me. And as you said, Tommy, when you're sober and money was not on that place where it should be. Yeah, Tommy took it. You know
Yeah.
how many times people say, you're not gonna do that. You will fail. You're a fail. You ever failed. You're gonna fail being sober. You know what that made me? It didn't make me mad. It just said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna show you.
Double down.
I just show you. I don't do it for you, and I don't really give a crap about what people think about me. I do it for me, but when somebody says you don't get it, you will not be able to, that gives me even more power. It's like a kick in the bum, right?
Yeah.
Just get it right, right? Like a slap in the face. Come on, get up, do it. It's just don't give up. Don't give up, guys. Whatever you're struggling, don't give up. Give a hold.
Brandon
If
Taylor.
sorry,
Brandon Taylor did sent out a message on one of the super chats. It just said, "Love you, Swiss Vape." And then Conky Donged sent out a message that said, "Swiss Vape, you're an inspiration to us all. Massive respect." I told you, my friend, there's a lot of people on this boat that you have absolutely inspired. And
yep,
you know what, people, the reason that these interviews are important, and we're going to be doing more of them, I promise you. But the reason that these interviews are important is sometimes it's so easy to get not self-centered, right, but self-centric, right? There's a difference. You're not. It's
yeah,
not that you're sitting and thinking you're the greatest person on the planet. That's self-centered.
no,
Self-centric just means that all of a sudden you feel like you are the center of the universe, and there's not any other problem out there that could be worse than the ones that you've had. And when you start to hear the things that other people have overcome, it starts to give you perspective. And we've talked about it so many times on the boat. The way you realize you can get out of the forest is to follow the footprints of somebody else that did. And Swiss, you really are an inspiration. You're an inspiration to me. The number of substances that you had to fight, and at the same time, overcoming some really heavy stuff that, thank God, because of people like you, most of us will never have to see. Right? I mean, truthfully, that's what it comes down to. Because of people like you, the vast majority of us are never going to have to see the things that you saw. But I have an amazing amount of respect for you. I really do. And thank you so much. This has been a long, long time coming. I do really
oh,
appreciate you coming on the boat. And boy, if you get stateside again, you definitely need to look up and come and do an interview in person if you get stateside. And the crazy thing is, more than likely, I'll be there before you're here. I got this thing about watches. They make pretty good ones over there. Not sure if you've heard, but you people make a damn good wristwatch.
I don't know. No, Attack Philippe. No, never heard of Attack Philippe.
Never,
No, I don't know what
never heard of them.
Avalon is.
Well, if you
No,
happen to
no,
come
no.
across one in a thrift store, you go ahead and grab it. And I'm fond of anything Paddock makes. We're in great shape, so I happily take anything from them. Swiss, I
Let me see.
appreciate you doing this. I really do. Go ahead.
First of all, I really want to thank you guys for all the support and all the messages that I read, and yeah, thank you, Johnny. Without you, I just saw like Carolina Reaper, and I saw the beard, and I said, ah, that's a good guy. I'm gonna watch it. Then I see you munching on that stuff, and I thought, how is it possibly? How is it possible? And all of a sudden, I'm there too. I mean, I'm not stone cold as you are when he's eating the pepper. I'm not your brother, but it's really awesome, and I really enjoyed the super hot peppers, and I enjoyed surströmming. And what I want to say before we kill the stream. When you got the 4Ks, all right, when you got the 4Ks, we do a live. You picking on your brother that he has to do the plutonium. I'm picking on you, and I'm poking on you. When you got the 4K, when you do the surströmming, I gotta do the surströmming with Reapers. All right?
You know what? I would put gasoline on Sistroming to make it taste better. I have no problem putting anything on that. Yeah, Reaper would definitely help that out. Cultivate Kindness said, "Thank you, Swiss. I love this boat." Um, Swiss, this has been an honor. It really has. Thank you so much for doing this. And you know what? Thanks for being a really solid member of this boat. You've made this boat better from the very first day that you came on. And you know what else too? I know that you have really bent over backwards since the first time I said to you, "Hey man, can you watch can you watch the language?" You have been a gentleman. You really have, and I love you, brother. I really appreciate this opportunity, man. You made my night.
You
And
made
happy
mine. You made
Valentine's Day to you and to everyone
Yeah,
else
I've
out
been
there.
to you too.
And
If
to
I don't know,
Lady Crispin, I don't want to get in trouble. To Lady Crispin, happy Valentine's Day as well.
oh
Swiss
yeah,
Vape, I love you. We're going to wrap it up. We just hit the top of the hour. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Swiss, you got anything you'd like to tell everybody before we leave? I love it. I love it. All right,
me
peeps.
too.
I am Captain Tommy Scoville. And right now, on the other side of the glass is the Swiss Vapor. And this, right
You
here, that's a cat
cat
in
in a
the
basket,
basket. Yep. Good night, everybody. We love you.
and that's a cat like a dog.
That's right.